Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be doing another What's It Worth, and obviously we already covered the majority of the Loomians from this update. Sitting right behind me is going to be none other than the Gamma Halloween Bunpuff. Now this bad boy was actually lent to me by Hypnotic Turtle, so major shout outs to you. Here's your YouTube channel, so go make sure to subscribe to them and go check out their content. Before I get straight into any of the odds, I want you guys to keep everything I see with a grain of salt, as all this information is subject to change. But with this being said, we can see this standing at a whopping 1 in 51,200 chance to find in the wild. And as for its demand and value, you can see this going a little bit higher than before, as it's finally about stabilized to a decent point to now, where we're working with 10 GR decent demand at the lowest to about almost 15 GR with decent demand at the highest. So with all this taken account for, let's get straight into the trading process. And let's go to the channel and type in looking for offers on Gamma Halloween Bunpuff, and boom. And now let's wait for offers. All right, and our first trade request is coming from Sushi_eyeball. So let's see what Sushi has to trade with us today. So we start off with a Gleam only mentioned at Pure Nimble, another one once again Pure Nimble, a Gamma Anniversary Fan Cup Pure Nimble, and it does seem like this may be Sushi's final offer, but I'll quickly check in a second. All right, and I did just confirm with Sushi, who did just say yes, whether or not this is their final offer or not. So with this being said, is this trade worth it? Unfortunately for the G Nolies, I know I did make a video about Guaranteed maybe 3 days ago, but they've actually recently have dropped a decent amount. We'll call this a stabilization just because of the fact that the event is obviously still going on. So we can see these being around almost 8 to 9 GR with bad demand as of now. So unfortunately for those who still have them and we're trying to trade them for better offers, it's going to be a little bit more harder now. Working with about almost 16 to 18 GR bad demand overall, plus the additional 8 GR, which could be bad to decent demand on this. So it's not the strongest offer. It is still nonetheless a W to take, just because of the fact that we're working with a decent amount of GR. Would I say it's a high W? Not necessarily. Some may consider this an E/W, but for this sake, we'll put it as a lower W. With this being said, let's get into our next trade. All right, and the next trade request is coming from Sweets Pumps. Let's see what Sweets has to trade with us today. So we start off with a Gleam Noli Metronet Pure Nimble, a Gamma Cake Hoganash Pure Nimble, an SA PvP Wiki, it seems. Well, obviously it's not PvP since level 5, but it seems like they were trying to get to that. An SA, assuming once again PvP Twilight, very frail, smart, nimble, PvP Borok, very brawny, clumsy, sluggish, and it does seem like this may be Sweet's final offer, but I'll quickly check in a second. All right, and I did just confirm with Sweets, who did just say yes as to whether or not this is their final offer or not. So with this being said, is this trade worth it? Unfortunately, this trade would have to push towards a thumbs down. The main reason is that we're not working with strong demand. The Gleam Noli Metronet as of now is about almost 8 to 9 GR bad, as I did state before, and the Gamma Hoganash is not strong either. We're seeing that at about almost 0.3 with bad demand overall. Like I said prior, it's not a great trade to take. Demand could be better, and with that being said, let's get into our next trade. And before actually we get straight to that, major shout outs to Sweets, actually, because before trading they did just say they're subbed. So major shout outs to you, and major shout outs to anyone else that has been subscribed or is subscribing or is planning to do so, which I would do so right now, low-key. That being said, now let's get into our next trade. All right, and the next trade request is coming from Just Press Play _123. So let's see what Play has to trade with us today. So we're starting for the Gamma Fairglyph Pure Smart, and it's also going to be Idiosyncratic, Gamma Odayaga Pure Nimble, Gleam White Cosmere Pure Nimble, Gleam Noli Metronet Clever Sluggish, Gleam Dustkit Pure Nimble, and it does seem like this may be Play's final offer, but I'll quickly check in a second. All right, so Play and I had some confusion because apparently they thought I was actually trading. I think they were just trying to trade out of curiosity. Yeah, I mean, they just said, let me give you a clip real quick. This is an obvious going to be a flex offer on their part. As to whether or not it's a good flex offer, some may, you know, beg to differ because we're working with really bad demand. Overall, this is going to be their final trade. So with this being said, is this trade worth it? In terms of demand, this trade is really bad to take. I mean, everything here now officially has bad demand. Maybe you can argue that the Fairglyph not so much, but then again, since it is Idiosyncratic and Pure Smart, it's pretty self-conflicting. Overall, this trade is a W. It's not the strongest W you can take, especially with the fact that Gamma Odayaga is 15 horrendous, so it's not going to get a lot on that. Not the worst trade you can take, but at the same time, not the best trade you can take. So yeah, with that being said, let's get into our next trade. All right, and the next trade request is coming from Adam is an Illusion. So let's see what Adam has to trade with us today. So we start off with a Blue Halloween Dustkit Pure Nimble, a Gamma Mirami Pure Nimble, a Gamma Anniversary Fan Cup Pure Nimble, a Gamma Tyrex Pure Smart, a Gamma Milvari Pure Nimble, a Gamma Halloween Wild Owl Pure Nimble, a Gleam Dakuda Pure Nimble, and it does seem like this may be Adam's final offer, but I'll quickly check in a second. All right, and I did just confirm with Adam, who did just say this is, yeah, my final offer. So with this being said, is this trade worth it? This trade is gonna have to push towards an E/W, and I say more closer towards the W side, mainly because of the fact that we're working with better demand overall. The Gamma Varis alone are horrendous 2 GR. Since this is the male one, it's not gonna be genuinely horrendous demand, but it's still gonna be pretty bad. But it's a little bit better than if it were just a normal Gamma Vari. As for the Gleam Dakuda, this is about 1.6 GR, and I know we did just add in the SA Xmas Yellow Proto Protagon, pure clever, so there's that as well. And since obviously it's an SA Protagon, it's gonna have some decent things to work with in terms of GR. As to whether or not that's gonna be high or low is not really the strongest, I'll say that. Additionally, for the stuff like the Halloween Dusket Blue pure nimble, we can see that being around almost 1.5 GR with OP demand. Mainly I say that for the fact that because our OG ones, so a lot of the OG colors are gonna be better on terms of demand and value, so just bear that in mind. Additionally, for the Tyrex, we can see this almost at 2 GR with OP demand. Since this one is gonna be smart, it's not gonna be the strongest, so I'll say for this specific one, maybe about 1.6 with OP demand, maybe 1.8. But that being said, this is overall not the worst trade you could take since we do have better demand as a mixed amount. I'll say this is gonna be a W. With that being said, let's get into our next and final trade. All right, and our next and final trade request is coming from Really Tier Doctor, aka Smek, from our Discord server. So let's see what Smek has to trade with us today. So we start off with a Gleam Ikazune pure nimble, another one pure nimble, once again another one pure nimble, a Gleaming Halloween Shachi new edition pure nimble, and it does seem like this may be Smek's final offer, but I'll quickly check in a second. All right, and Smek did just say yes sir. So with this being said, is this trade worth it? This trade is gonna have to be a great W to take. Now I say great because of the fact that the Shachi is obviously pure nimble, so we're seeing this around almost 14 to 15 GR with good demand. Obviously by the time you already seen this, we already covered maybe the Gleam Halloween Shachi. I don't know when exactly this video will be out. Hopefully it's been after, so if that's the case, we're working with 14, 15 good. Additionally, for the Ikazunes alone, we can see that around almost 1.4, 1.5 GR with decent demand, about maybe good demand if you can get some offers like that, but it's not the worst, it's not the best. I would say these are good ads though, since they are pure Gleam roams and not some event Gleams. But with all this taken account for, as I did mention prior, this is going to be a thumbs up. And with that being said, let's wrap this trade up. Alrighty guys, that's going to be it for today's video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to like, subscribe, and join our Discord server. While you're at it, go join Reliable Values, as obviously as it states in the title, it's reliable and I would highly recommend it. But don't just stop there, head on over to my TikTok, because yes, Unk does post on his TikTok. I do actually just post literally everything I post on YouTube to there. But regardless, go check it out and I would highly recommend you guys follow that. But before we end this, obviously go check out my Roblox group, because that's actually where we're going to be posting the Gleaming Halloween Dusket merch. So here's actually the teaser that I have ready and posted in my Discord server already. So I would highly recommend that you guys stay anticipated for that and be prepared as for when it drops, which will be this October 31st on Halloween. Now with all this being stated, remember, pineapples are vegetables. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, stay safe, peace.